Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday to you. It's Lee Henson, president and founder of AgileDad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. Monday morning, I hope you had an amazing weekend. I wanted to kick this week off with a bang. I wanted to give you something that is very interesting, something that maybe you thought of or maybe you haven't, but I had someone who sent in an email, and at first I thought the email was asking questions specifically about certifications, but then I read a little deeper into the email and realized what the real question was. And the real question was this: are all Scrum Masters the same? Now, let me explain. This person went on to describe, the certified Scrum Master versus a professional Scrum Master versus a safe Scrum Master versus a disciplined Agile Scrum Master. And they just said all these different people, there are all these different certifications. Are these people the same? What do they do? Are their roles the same? Are their responsibilities the same? But then they went on, and this is where it really got me. They said, what's the difference between a Scrum Master and an iteration manager? Or a team Scrum liaison? Or a product Scrum liaison? Or a team iteration manager? Or a Scrum iteration manager? Or a Scrum overlord, Scrum ruler, Scrum zealot, Scrum Vader? Luke, where is your backlog? I'm just picturing it now, right? Scrum Undertaker, or my favorite, Scrum Lord. And I think that what's happening right now is something very interesting. Almost like there's an internal revolution going on within the Agile community about the argument over words. What is one versus the next versus the next versus the next? And here are my thoughts. So, from the very onset, from the very beginning, I never liked the term Scrum Master. Now, let me explain why. Obviously, one, the connotation of master servant. Granted, I wanted to get rid of that. But I think the greater connotation was, I don't know that it did a good job of describing the role. When I think of someone who's a master of something, I think that they are the expert. They are the de facto person who knows all about every role and every action and all the process and all the framework and everything that goes along with it. So I think that master from the very beginning was deceptive. If they would have called it, I don't know, Scrum Candidate. I'm just trying to think of some other name. That's a horrible name too. But my point is, I don't know that there was a better name at the time. And when Ken called it Scrum Master, with Jeff, I think it was with good cause. I think it was with good merit. I don't think there was any deceitful attempts to pull something out or any kind of insidious attempts to say something or do something negative. I think the connotation of Scrum Master was meant to be someone who was like the master of ceremonies, an MC, if you will, right? And that person was going to be responsible for facilitation, for servant leadership, and for things along those lines. Now, I have seen so many articles and blog posts out there arguing that a safe Scrum Master and a regular Scrum Master is different, or that a professional Scrum Master is not a certified Scrum Master. Well, here is where I stand. I feel like, and this is, with my opinion in a quarter, you'd have 25 cents, but where I stand is, in my world as a certified Scrum trainer, I am allowed to certify people as Scrum Masters. And I'm very honored and privileged to be one of just a few hundred people in the world that can do this, right? But with that being said, I take that responsibility very seriously. Meaning, my class at the level 1 has a very high percentage pass rate. But then when you get to the level 2 and level 3 classes, what's interesting is, especially at level 2, you start to see some people, some pass-fail rate droppage. And the reason why is because I feel like when I put my name on that credential, I want the world to know that that person has stood through one of the most potentially difficult trainings they've ever been through, that they've actively participated, that they've proven to me that they have way more worth than that 1 year of experience required, and not necessarily chronologically, but experience as in the trenches, right? And that person has illustrated that they understand all the duties, responsibilities, and whatnot of being in the position of a third-party advocate, servant leader, Scrum Master. Now, honestly, if you ask me at the end of the day, do I care if it's called Certified Scrum Master, Professional Scrum Master, Safe Scrum Master, Disciplined Agile Scrum? I don't care if you call it Gummy Bear number 64 Scrum Master. For me, those words in the front are adjectives. I'm going to say it again. They're adjectives. The Certified Scrum Master shows that you went through a rigorous 2-day course. that you took an examination, you were certified. A professional Scrum Master, same thing. You went through either one course or no course at all, and you took your industry knowledge and gained experience and passed a rigorous technology-based test to become a PSM, a professional Scrum Master. If you're a safe Scrum Master, it means you sat through a multi-day safe class and that you understand the tenets of how to be a good Scrum Master, almost the same way you would in Scrum. And you took that and learned also how to apply it in a scaled setting. With a disciplined Agile Scrum Master, and this one's my favorite, this is the one that's probably the biggest misnomer. When I think of discipline, I think of single-threaded discipline, but disciplined Agile, the whole concept is to choose your way of working. So it's almost like the disciplined is the least disciplined, and the one that's certified is the least certified, and the one that's professional only applies to things that are technical, so it's probably the least professional, and the one that's safe is probably the least safe. So for me, I think, wow, this is just an incredible time to be a Scrum Master. But what I do want to point out is this. I read a long article that someone posted recently about the differences between a certified Scrum Master and a safe Scrum Master. And they went on to describe all these little finite interpretations of meanings behind some of the things that are there, some of the learning objectives that separate the two. I would argue that I disagree. And check this out. Here's why. Because I feel like if you look at any of these, certified Scrum Master, professional Scrum Master, safe Scrum Master, and disciplined Agile Scrum Master, they all have one thing in common. Anybody want to guess? You're right, Scrum Master. Scrum Master is the underlying term that's there. And I think the reason behind that makes sense. In the very beginning days of Scrum, early 2000s, if you learned all the things that you needed to do to be a really good Scrum Master, it would not have adhered directly to a specific orientation of Scrum. It may not have agreed completely with the Scrum framework or with the Agile framework or with the professional Scrum Master framework or say Scrum Master. My point is, if you learn how to be an effective Scrum Master and you learn the responsibilities and you understand that the Scrum Master is a lot like a doctor, they're there to listen to symptoms, make diagnosis, to write prescriptions, to help the team be successful, to execute as a third-party servant leader. Those are the keys that are going to help you be a successful Scrum Master. And I think that those keys apply across the board, regardless of which letter you have or which word you have in front of your Scrum Master name. So my challenge for you this week, starting today, is to really ask yourself, and this comes directly from the 12-step program that we put together. Actually, it is step number 3, and it asks, in your organization, do you have a clear understanding and delineation of all the roles, responsibilities? Do you understand what each role is supposed to be doing, what the responsibilities are? And have you identified by name who the people are who are fulfilling these responsibilities? One of the discoveries that I made is in many organizations, we find that people who are filling in for the Scrum Master role, maybe you're doing other things or they don't completely understand the Scrum Master role, or there's more people doing it than there should be, or maybe people are spread too thin and they have other responsibilities as well. It's just an opportunity for us to really understand, grow, and learn if we dig into these roles. So to answer that initial question from my reader, are all Scrum Masters the same? My answer is, if they learn how to do their job correctly, they are the same. And the proof in the pudding would be this. Now, one thing that sets the AgileDad Certified Scrum Master class apart is that if you're seated for that class, you are very well eligible to take the Professional Scrum Master. You're also very well eligible to take the PMI Agile Certified Practitioner certification. And with just 1 or 2 additional details, you could be seated for any of those 3 exams and pass all 3. So I'm not promising it's buy one, get 2 free, but my classes are a little more expensive than some of the average classes, but for good reason, because you're going to walk away with the tools necessary, not just to pass a test or to earn a letter behind your name, but to be the best at what you do. I hope this information was helpful. I hope it kicked off your week on the right foot. As always, I encourage you to tune in to AgileDad, where you can learn more about this topic or many other topics. And if you have a request for something that you want us to cover in one of our episodes, we'd love to hear from you so that we can cover your topic here as an episode on the Daily Stand-Up Podcast. And as always, we encourage you to stay well, stay healthy, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.